15-time world champion, Demetrious Johnson. You're listening to the MIGHTYcast.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Look what we have here. You have me and Michael, your host of the MIGHTYcast, in the flesh together. Episode 5. We thank you guys so much for tuning in. And, you know, I think the last episode did 72,000 views? Something like that. I think it's like 75,000 views.
Yeah, no, I think let's pull it out. Let's brag a little bit about these numbers. We got Ariel Helwani. He's helping bring up those numbers. Our good friend, my former ESPN buddy. So yeah, no, it's at 75,000 as we record here, and it's gonna hopefully keep going by the time this episode's live. But no, thank you all for watching, or whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We love that feedback. So just let us know if you want any future guests, and so we could make that a regular thing.
Yeah. All right, boys. Man, this is a big month. You know, not just in mixed martial arts, but boxing. I think one of the biggest fights that we're all waiting to see: DILLON DANIS versus Logan Paul. Does it happen? Right? That's the biggest thing. Does it happen? Because before, DILLON DANIS was about to fight KSI, but he got injured. He backed out. We don't know what happened. But I think it's coming down to the wire. They're fighting October 14th. Make sure you guys come here. We're going to do a live reaction and our final analysis, who we think is going to win. Also on the card, you got KSI versus Tommy Fury. And then we also have Salt Papi, which in my opinion, he has been the most oppressive YouTuber who's crossed over to boxing. He's lost a lot of weight, made some lifestyle changes, looks great. They are comparing him to Fat Boo when he makes transition to Kid Boo. That's a little anime nerd stuff for you there, Michael. But let's bring it back to DILLON DANIS versus Logan Paul. Not gonna lie, I was so worried that it wasn't gonna happen because he was getting hit with all these damn Nina lawsuits. And as Helwani said last week, that he felt that it was Nina versus DILLON DANIS compared to all the Twitter beat that he's been throwing at Nina. But he's also just trying to hype the fight up because I'm sure he's probably make a shitload of money fighting Logan Paul. And I bet you he probably has like pay-per-view points for him to DAZN. And that's why I think he's just pushing it super hard. But I'm super excited about that fight. I'm super invested into it because we covered so much of his shit. Like not just all his shit talking, but we just broke down his BJJ ADCC against Gordon Ryan, and his grappling's legit, right? I mean, he does a good job in mixed martial arts. He only had 2 or 3 Bellator fights. All the knee injuries kept him out, and then we broke down his grappling match. But we haven't seen him box yet. He's done some sparring with Alex Pereira, and I believe that's about it that he's displayed. But I'm super excited to see what's going to happen just because it's like all this build up and now they have to fight.
No, and I think that is what's special about this, if I could say, about this crossover boxing, this kind of circus boxing combat sports that we have. One thing that I'll say is interesting about it is how much we've built it up ourselves, that there's no hiding it. I mean, we'll be honest, like, before we both started covering this DILLON DANIS Logan Paul fight, neither of us cared at all. We just saw that you guys cared, and that made us care.
Yep.
But now, after weeks of us doing these Dennis street fight breakdowns, this Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather, DILLON DANIS, grappling, just getting to look at, is he even legit at grappling? It's gotten me all of a sudden hyped to actually see it because I care about the outcome more than I would say, an average UFC fight. As weird as that sounds, there's a little bit of a rooting interest because it's like, man, I want to see his Logan Paul after all that stuff that Dylan said about Nina. Like, is he going to get knocked out? Because let's be honest, that's something I want to say right now. If Logan Paul just wins by decision, do you even count that as a win for him? Do you think he needs to get a knockout here?
I mean, he's got to finish him. He's got to finish him to make him pay for what he said about his fiance on social media. I think the biggest thing too about it is that we're so invested because Dylan is one of me, right? He is in mixed martial arts. He comes from that background. He's a martial artist. To where Logan Paul, he is an entertainer, right? He's an amazing wrestler. I love watching him do WWE, and he's also transitioned into that YouTube boxing. But at the end of the day, I am rooting for Dillon Danis just because he comes from the same lineage of jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts, and I always want to see the MMA guys succeed in making a lot of money and doing something else besides getting, well, he's still getting punched in the face, but he's not doing mixed martial arts. He's calling his own shots, right? Like, I'm pretty sure when it came to negotiation of his contract, I like to think that he had more say-so than if it was a Bellator, UFC, One Championship, Ryzen contract, right? To where those contracts are kind of the same, like, not rinse and repeat, but it's you're, all right, fight deal, you're under contract, you're going to make 20, and that's it, right? Because he's not a champion, so it's not like he's going to get pay-per-view points. But I feel like he's going to have more say-so in his contract with the DAZN. So super happy, and I can't wait. I just hope the fight happens. Like, I'm invested. If it doesn't happen, I'm going to be so mad. It's going to be horrible. I would talk so much shit to him. Like, you bastard.
So I guess let's. So as we record this, this is the Monday before this fight, this Saturday. So let's make a prediction right now. Do you think that Dillon Danis will show up, he'll be on weight, and there aren't going to be any theatrics? If you had to make that final prediction right now.
Oh man, it's hard. It's hard because we've been here before, right? We've been here before with KSI. And I thought that fight was going to happen. There was, I thought that fight was going to happen. But there's a part of me that's stuck into my heart that he's come way too far to turn back now, right? He's all the work he's done of bashing Nina, the face-off. He just did Arrow on his podcast. I feel like it's got to happen. So you know what? You asked a question. I'm going to give you an answer. I believe it's going to happen. What about you? You think it's going to happen?
Yeah, I think it will too, but more of where I come in my doubts is the fight itself. I have a hard time believing it's going to deliver. So here's the thing. We see Jake Paul, and Logan Paul isn't anywhere from what we've seen in the class of a Jake Paul in terms of boxing, but the fights that Jake Paul had against like not real fighters were just not. I don't want to make the comparison to Ben Askren, but it does somewhat give me vibes of that. Like, I'm a little worried that this fight is going to be very short. Like, and it's weird because maybe I'm comparing Logan a little bit too much to his brother, and I'm giving him too much credit as a boxer. But I just feel like there's the momentum, the DAZN kind of wanting the Paul brothers to continue pushing them. It's so hard for me to believe that there's like, once the fight actually starts, that we're going to see a fair fight. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the cards are stacked against Danis to do anything.
I don't think the cards are stacked against him. I think he has a tall order a tall mountain to climb, right? Because you're thinking about it, Logan Paul, yes, he's not the best boxer, but either is Dillon Danis, right? I mean, I like to think Logan should have better hands than Dillon Danis, because Dillon Danis comes from a grappling background, kind of like Ben Askren, right? And Dillon, when you watch his Bellator fights, it wasn't like he was like piecing people up. He wasn't very light and crisp on the feet. Even the fight we watched, the training videos we watched with him sparring against Alex Pereira, and just some random sparring footage, it wasn't like he was light on his feet. And his background is more of mixed martial arts, where he's punching, kicking, takedowns. So to be in the realm of just boxing, I mean, I think Logan Paul's gonna have the advantage on the feet, and I think he's more athletic, and he might be on steroids too. I don't fucking know. I mean, they were gonna do water testing, but I feel he's gonna have the advantage just because he's been there before, to where Dillon Danis hasn't. He hasn't been as active. I mean, you have the kind of street fights. So, I mean, we'll see how he deals with the pressure of being on a big stage and the lights. And a funny thing about this, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't even the fucking main event. Like, when you told me, I was like, yeah, that's not even the main event. The main event's actually KSI versus Tommy Fury, correct?
Yeah, no, and that's what's pretty crazy about all of this, and that's why I just got to tip my cap to Logan and Dillon Danis. And if I'm going to be honest, mostly Dillon Danis, because his Twitter, like, I did not care about this fight until he started dropping all those pics and memes on Nina. So no, I mean, I tip my cap to, because that's a pretty funny story that Ariel said to us too. Because when he talked to Logan Paul, I forgot when he said he talked to Logan Paul, but Logan told, it was after his SummerSlam match against Ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
He talked to Ariel and he's like, yeah, Dillon Danis is going to be my next opponent. And what Ariel said to Logan was like, he doesn't deserve you. That was what he said.
I think it's vice versa
Yeah,
now.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And Logan, it shows how smart Logan is that he knew, like, no, like Dillon Danis, like, maybe he's not much of a fighter. He backs out of fights, but he's gonna sell this fight. So props to Logan Paul for knowing, like, hey, here's an opponent who's gonna at least earn getting in there from creating a buzz. And it is and I don't see anyone talking about KSI Tommy Fury.
No.
Like, it's crazy that's the main event.
Yeah, I mean, even when you look at the face-off didn't have the same attraction as Dillon Danis versus Logan Paul. And, you know,
they took down our video. Damn,
yeah, I know.
Damn you, KSI.
No, I don't think it was KSI. I think it was DAZN.
But DAZN.
Oh, you know, you're right.
Our Logan Paul Danis one is still.
That's right.
It's still up there. So
Goddamn you, KSI. How dare you? We're just doing you a favor. We're trying to promote you a fight. We're just trying to promote you as an athlete and Tommy Fury. And it's funny that it is the main event, but I think, you know, with Tommy Fury versus KSI, Tommy Fury should beat him. But obviously it's a boxing match. Everybody's got a boxing chance, a puncher's chance, and we'll see what happens. But I think the creme brulee, the ribeye, the cowboy steak of that fight card is probably going to be, it's not going to be, it is Logan Paul versus Dillon Danis. So super excited about that.
So before we move on from the fight, what is your final prediction? As we talk right now, what's even the rounds? I mean, it's like these
no.
Like, that's what I love about these fights, is that it's so not about the actual fight that I don't even know what they're fighting for, what the rounds are. Like, I don't think it even matters, but I'm pretty sure it's 6. But let's say what's your prediction of the winner, and do you see a knockout? What are you thinking?
I think we see a knockout on Logan Paul round 4. I think he knocks him out. I think he's going to overwhelm him, because he did a good job overwhelming Floyd Mayweather. Obviously, he had the size difference, but I think Dillon Danis just hasn't been active enough. You know, like I can see Logan Paul blitzing him. I don't think Dillon's ever been known to having power in his hands. You know, just that one knockout punch. But, you know, Dillon Danis has been inactive. We know Dillon can take a punch. So it's going to be a barrage. I feel Logan Paul's going to barrage him and finish him in the 4th.
Yeah, no, and I want to say right now, but before even saying a prediction, and you mentioned it too, I'm rooting for Dillon Danis.
Yeah, 1,000%. Rooting for Dillon.
Which I cannot believe I'm saying. But it shows just how, God, how much you could hate those Paul brothers that I can't believe I'm saying this, but that is one thing I want to put on the record. I'm rooting for Dillon Danis. It would be one of my favorite combat sports moments in years if he somehow knocked him out. And just imagine if that happened. Which I think is, if he wins, it's probably going to be a decision where he shows a little bit more technique than we expected. I've not seen any power from him whatsoever in MMA.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to at least get that off my chest, that I am rooting for Dillon Danis. Which it's weird that a guy who's just saying all this shit about someone's fiance is all of a sudden the baby face in a feud. But I don't know why, but he's just become this hero for me in some ways.
I think the reason why is because the Paul brothers have come into this sport of boxing, knocking out Tyron Woodley, knocking out Ben Askren. And, you know, I think Logan Paul is 0-2 in boxing, so he hasn't won a fight, I believe, yet. But I feel like maybe this is the guy from our sport who can come in and get a victory for mixed martial arts. Because every single person that the Paul brothers has fought from mixed martial arts, they have defeated him, right? When Tyron Woodley was going to go fight Jake Paul, like, oh, this is going to be easy. Tyron Woodley's a fighter. He actually does this in real life. Da-da-da-da-da. He beats him. Then he knocks him out. Ben Askren. Oh, Ben Askren's going to beat him. Ben Askren gets knocked out. Who else from the MMA community can step up and beat these guys? Little behold, our savior, Dillon Danis. Will he be the savior of the mixed martial artists? We'll find out October 14th, boys.
No, and I'm happy you said that too, because that's another thing that now that I finally have the platform to say it and I could speak on it. These MMA fighters would kick these guys' ass in real fights, and you're one of them too. Like, we have Bradley Martin. I could go against Demetrious Johnson. That's one thing I'm gonna say. We're talking about this. We're having fun. I'm happy that you guys enjoy our breakdowns on Danis and Logan Paul. But I do want to say one thing that is important, that these MMA fighters are only doing this because the money's in boxing, and it does not mean that Logan Paul would have even a slight shot. And let's see that too. I'm interested in that supposedly Logan Paul said in that face-off that he would do MMA. I don't remember if he said if Dillon Danis won. What was this?
I think if he shows up, if they fight.
Oh yeah, if he shows up
to fight.
So okay, if that happens,
it's
yeah. So, and I think that's something, the respect I have, and you're going to learn on this show that I lean more towards. I have a respect for all martial arts, but what I love about mixed martial arts is, like, if you are in a situation, just God forbid you're in a real life situation and you're locked in a room with someone, John Jones murders anyone in the world. Like, that dude knows that he could wake up every day like, man, if it's just no guns, no knives, and I'm locked in a room, I literally not one human being who would just lock them in a room and it's like only one of you can exit, that John Jones is going to lose against. And that includes Tyson Fury. That's anyone. Francis Ngannou. So actually Ngannou would actually be pretty interesting. I'll take that one back because that's an actual MMA fighter. But either way, getting a little off topic, I do agree with you. That's where I root for Dillon Danis, and I just look out for these MMA guys where it's like even a Nate Diaz, like, let's do that PFL fight against you. Like, all this talk with PFL, let's have that fight actually booked and see how it goes.
I mean, all they gotta do is cough up $10 million because that's what Jake Paul said. So if Jake Paul, if PFL can come up with $10 million somehow to make that fight happen, I agree with you. Nate Diaz wins, which is another MMA guy that I totally forgot to list, who we thought, is this our savior? Is this the gentleman who's gonna come out and beat one of the Paul brothers? So he wasn't able to get it done. And, that's why I kind of feel like how the Dillon Danis and Logan Paul fight can go, where the one is just more athletic and just moves around and beats him because it's boxing. So we'll see. All right. What else we got this month? We have the UFC.
I was going to say, before we totally go off of this, I really do not care much for this fight. And we've already talked about how it's hardly even the main event, but let's at least just give a KSI Tommy Fury prediction. And before we get into that, I'll actually pull up looking at it. So first of all, Logan Paul's actually only had one technical professional fight, and it was against KSI.
What?
No, it's just pretty crazy. But no, so KSI, I'll be honest, I've not seen him box before.
He has an interesting style. I watched this fight where he knocked homeboy out with a forearm strike, and then they went. Honestly, KSI is kind of like a little bit of a spaz and a little bit trying to be technical. The biggest thing, with these guys is that they don't have any amateur fights. That's the biggest thing. So all of their, they have a lot of deficiencies because they've never gone through, 5, 10 amateur fights. And you see it in all of them. You see it, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, KSI, Saul Poppy, like I said before, when I broke him down, DAZN wouldn't allow me to post it. He actually had some type of form of curriculum that he understood how boxing works and his stance, and him being the shorter fighter. So with KSI versus Tommy Fury is a professional boxer, right? He comes from a lineage of boxers, being Tyson Fury's brother. I just, that fight just doesn't excite me as Logan Paul versus Dillon Danis does. It just, I just feel, Tommy Fury has an interesting way by going on his fights where he's not like, he's not as crisp as Tyson. And I wasn't impressed when he fought Jake Paul either. Like, I thought Jake Paul did a good job sticking with him, even though Tommy Fury supposedly has a long amateur career, right? Like, somebody in Discord asked me a question. He said, man, how do I get to a level of like Floyd Mayweather, Gervonta Davis, David Haney, all these, the best boxers in the world? And I was like, well, these guys, their path to where they are now is that, Floyd might have had, I don't know, maybe 200 amateur fights. And then he went to the Olympics And then from the Olympics, he went, no, I don't know if he went once or twice, but they usually go to the Olympics. And then after the Olympics, then they'll get into the pro level. Nowadays, you see nobody wanted to fight for the Olympics. Like, it's unheard of. People are like, no, I don't want to fight for the Olympics. I'd rather just, do 20 amateur fights and go pro and start making money. Like, that's the way they do it. But when you see those guys who do that, they're not as crisp. They're not as good. Like, you just had Canelo Alvarez versus Charlo, and Canelo Alvarez just destroyed him. But he's also had a long amateur career, a lot of fights. So when I look at Tommy Fury, I don't see that from him, right? Like, I don't know his age, but if you're a professional boxer, you should have at least 40 amateur fights in boxing. But I don't see that in him. I don't see that 40 amateur crisp boxing from him. So I don't know. I mean, I think Tommy Fury should win this fight easily. But
yeah, me too. But this, like I said, I never would be one to be like, oh, these fights are fixed or something. But we know if DAZN can have a hand in it and they could choose the winners, of course they would hope that Logan Paul and KSI are going to come out on top. So I'm always going to give KSI like a little bit more of an edge because they're like these fights. This isn't like a UFC or something like that. And even in UFC, let's be honest, they're still the favorites. Come on, Patty Pimblett, who we'll talk about when his pay-per-view against Tony Ferguson. But yeah, he lost his fight against Gordon 100%. But so I don't even UFC you have a little bit of like, and we off camera we also had some other not to be named that we talked about a little bit as well. So there's promotions out there that always want whoever they want to push to win to some degree. And of course they can't fix the fights, but there's just little things that they could do. Like, and the judges know too, like none of the judges would admit it, but like they know in the back of their minds, like, hey, I mean, if I'm like 50-50 on something, maybe I should go that way.
I'm gonna go that way.
Yeah. So that I'll say that, but as you said, like Tommy Fury, come on, you gotta beat this guy. There is no reason. It's if anything, it's even more than Danis and Logan Paul versus Danis for me, where people are like, oh, Logan Paul should beat Dillon Danis. It's that even more so because there is no excuse that Fury does not beat KSI. Zero.
Yeah, no excuse whatsoever. But it's boxing. There's always a puncher's chance. But being a professional boxer, I mean, it's just like being a pro mixed martial artist. When I was an amateur, like my amateur background in mixed martial arts, I've done one boxing match, one kickboxing, one Muay Thai, one shoot boxing, and probably like 15 amateur mixed martial artists. And then I've also done like 4 jiu-jitsu tournaments. So my amateur career set me up for success in my pro career, where I feel like these guys don't go through that. Obviously, not Dillon Danis, but obviously Logan Paul and Jake Paul and KSI never did that. They did more of the YouTube stuff. But Tommy Fury should have an extensive background in amateur boxing. This should be an easy fight for him. Should be hands down easy fight.
And then last thing, is there? Do you even care who wins from a rooting?
No.
But see, does this not show the storytelling of Dillon Danis versus Logan Paul? Because I agree with you too. I could give a rat's ass who wins that fight, and that is the key to professional wrestling, combat sports. When those two guys are in there, you need to have a rooting interest, or what's the point? And that's the last thing I'm going to say. I respect the build of Dillon Danis, Logan Paul. It's obviously not for some people. They've gone too far. I'm not a married man, so I also wouldn't be privy to that aspect of it. But all I'm going to say is, I'm way more interested in that. Let's go, Dillon Danis. We're rooting for you.
We'll go, Dillon. Let's go. Let's go.
Officially, MIGHTycast approved. We're going to do it. Maybe we'll have him on the show afterwards.
You just talk shit to us the whole time.
Yeah. So moving on, a week from Saturday, we got let's be honest, the real combat sports, the actual fights. And I think it works very nicely for combat sports fans because we have these kind of, if we're being honest, these kind of jokes of a fight. And then a week later, we have UFC 294, a long break in between pay-per-views, just a stacked card. There's always something special about these Abu Dhabi cards. So we'll break it down definitely more in depth next week, and we have a ton of breakdowns coming at you with Islam and Charles Oliveira and Khamzat. So let's start with that Charles Oliveira versus Islam. What's some of your early thoughts there? Because one thing I'll say is, from the heart, a lot of these hardcore MMA fans, they are praying for Charles Oliveira to win. Like, they love that dude. It's very much feels like he's the baby face coming into this. So how do you give Charles Oliveira a good shot in this rematch?
1,000%. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. I think Charles Oliveira, depending on what day of the week it is, I think he's higher on the GOAT list than Khabib. I just feel it. Like, he's so exciting to watch. You know, the only thing I give him is that he just makes not the best decision when he fights. But when he fights, when I did his breakdown, when you guys see the breakdown that I do where he fought Justin Gaethje, oh my God, you guys will see the passion and the love that I have for Charles when he fights. Like, there's no other fighter right now that gets me excited than Charles Oliveira. Like, I just love watching him fight. So I do give him a shot at beating. I think he has what it takes, the skill set to beat Islam. I truly do. But he's got to come in healthy. I saw today that he was complaining about it being in Abu Dhabi. I don't know if you saw that. But, You know, Islam was like, I didn't pick it to be in Abu Dhabi. That's where the UFC picked it. And they just named us, the helm of the card. So I hope that doesn't really get in his mind about, man, we're in Abu Dhabi again, because that's where he lost the first time with him, I believe, right? It was in Abu Dhabi against Islam.
I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but I talked to Kelvin Gastelum about this actually, because Shavkat, and here I'm actually pulling it up quickly. So this UFC 280, it was. So that first fight, UFC 280, October 22nd, 2022, which that's pretty interesting. So it was almost exactly a year later.
Yeah. So I feel like for him, he's like, man, like I've been here before. I've been in his atmosphere, but at the same time, he can use it to his advantage. Like, hey, I've been here before. I've been here before. I already know what's the worst that can happen. I've already lost to this man before in the same location. Let's rewrite history. I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna take it to him. Right. And that's how I felt when I fought Adriano, right? I fought him in 2000, I think it was 19. I don't know. We fought in Singapore during COVID-19. I got knocked out. And then I went back and I fought Ratang, beat Ratang. And then we went back to Singapore. And then I finally knocked him out in the same arena where I was like, I've been here before. We got a live crowd now. I'm going to take it to him. So hopefully Charles can get out of his mind and say, we're going back to the same spot, use it as fuel, use it as, I want to rewrite this history in the folks in Abu Dhabi and be able to come back and beat one of the most dominant, athletes in the lightweight division.
No, yeah, and what I was getting at, and I hope Kelvin Gastelum doesn't mind me saying, but he had mentioned to me, because he fought, I'm not sure who he fought, I'd have to look it up, but he fought in Abu Dhabi before, and he really wanted to do it as kind of like a bucket list thing, and just a cool, like, yeah, I want to get that Fight Island experience, and he let me know, like, I would not want to do it again. Like, it is not something, which I didn't really go into depth with him, but could you maybe think of what would be some factors? Because he was just like, yeah, I'm not looking to fight in Abu Dhabi.
I'm sure the flight's pretty long. I don't know what the tax situation is over there. You got to go over there, get adjusted to the time zone, because I'm assuming, like, who knows what time zone are they fighting on? I'm assuming since it's such a big card, they're going to probably be on Pacific Standard Time, like start at 7 p.m., I would assume.
Yeah, so what's cool with these Abu Dhabi cards, it will be prime time in Abu Dhabi, so for us, it's going to be an early card. So it's smart that they do that.
They do that. So then the athletes want to get over there early, right? Because when I fought in Singapore for my championship, they wanted to cater to the Amazon Prime. So we would fight early in the morning, about 11:30 in the morning. So when I would go over there, I wouldn't adjust to their time zone. I would stay on my own time zone, which is cool and shitty, because when it's dark over here, everything is starting to open up. But then I will go to bed around maybe 1 p.m., 2 p.m. over there. And then I'll wake up at like 2 a.m. And then I'll spend the whole day trying to eat. I would just eat breakfast the whole Like, I absolutely hated it. I hated it. But then when they switched it back to, you know, the normal time where I was fighting at nighttime in Singapore, I actually loved it because I was actually getting legit meals. I was having my breakfast, my lunch, and my dinner and going to bed on their time zone instead of staying on my own time zone. So I think for some athletes, they probably don't want to switch. They're like, man, if I go over there and I fight in the prime time, I need to go over there 2 weeks ahead of schedule, which when you're over there for 2 weeks, it kind of gets boring. Like, you're just, I'm here to fight and I have to wait 2 weeks. But I've never been to Abu Dhabi, so I'm pretty sure it's pretty dope over there. You can do so many fun things. But that might have been Kevin's, you know, thing where he was like, I don't know, I don't want to do it again. I want to just stay back home and just chill. But
no, yeah, it was just interesting because you had Shavkat there, which, like, I will always give. I'm gonna, you know, Kelvin's my boy, so I'm always gonna be like, man, Kelvin was a badass for wanting that fight and like doing everything he could to go against Shavkat, and that's a guy I'm sure we'll do a breakdown of once we get closer, which actually we for sure will, as he fights Stephen Thompson. So we'll definitely do a breakdown of that, but no, because I know Kelvin wanted to fight Shavkat, but Shavkat was kind of being like, oh, so I gave you the opportunity to do it on Mexican Independence Day, and it was almost a road game. It would have been a road game for Shavkat, so to speak. So he was like, oh, well, now return the favor in Abu Dhabi, and Kelvin's like, nope. I'm not doing that. But no, so I think getting back to the matchup, it is, there's something about like these rematches in MMA, and you're someone who you've obviously done it as well. You know, you had like, let's see, how many rematches did you have in UFC? You had
Cejudo, Cejudo, Joseph Benavidez, John Dodson, and then I think that was about it. Yeah, so I have 4 rematches, and then actually, so then Adrian Rice too. So 5 rematches. So
that is true. So I will say you're a pretty good example of results actually changing in them, obviously, because with Moraes, you know, you get knocked out, getting used to those one championship rules, and then you beat him the next 2 times. Mm-hmm. Henry, yeah, the split decision, go the other way the second time, but it is just, it's sometimes difficult in UFC when there is this rematch of, I guess this is a better way to say it, Henry's the only rematch I think of, no, I should say Moraes too, where the rematch happened after a decisive finish. Was there any other examples of that?
No, I think you're right. I mean,
no, yeah. So it is pretty. I don't want to say it's rare, but it's like we saw in that Islam Charles fight. It was very dominant.
Yes,
and people would think what has changed since then, but I don't know why. It's just when we saw that Islam Volkanovski fight, there was something that had to give everyone confidence. There's a way to beat this guy.
I think what happened in the first fight between Islam versus Charles Oliveira, and then you go to Islam versus Volkanovski. Obviously, 2 different type of athletes, right? Just hands down, 2 different type of athletes. You have Volkanovski, which they're both very well-rounded, but Volkanovski's IQ is so damn high that he's very good at playing the game and understanding his strengths and his weaknesses. So I feel that's one thing that Charles Oliveira doesn't really play into he plays into his strengths very, very well, but it's also a heel to his weakness. Now you guys are like, what the hell do you mean? What the hell do you mean? Volkanovski uses his speed, his in and out. He outstrikes everybody who has, a longer range than him because he knows how to play the game very well. To where Charles Oliveira, one of his greatest strengths is how aggressive he is. But he's so damn aggressive that he overextends and gets caught. And that's what happened when he fought Islam, is he overextended by doing that fucking double flying knee, and the Islam caught him with that left hook. Now, when you guys watch the breakdown, you're going to see Charles always gets dropped. But when he gets dropped, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, they let him get back up. And when they let him get back up, it gives Charles Oliveira the opportunity to get back in the gunfight and the shootout. And then he ends up shooting them, following him to the ground, passing guard, and submitting them. Now, where it went different with Islam is when Islam dropped him, Islam followed him to the ground, passed his guard, and submitted him. So I think after watching Volk versus Islam, we saw Islam get tired because you had an athlete that moved around way too much. Now, we saw Charles come back and beat Bernal Dariush. And we're like, yeah, this guy can beat him. But I just sometimes feel that Charles gets in his own way by being super aggressive. Take your time. You have 5. That's what I told Henry too when he fought Aljamain Sterling. I was like, you got 25 minutes to beat him. You don't got to hit him with one big shot. You can work him and break it down. And that's the same thing I thought with Adrian Ramirez the third time. I was like, no, excuse me, the second and third. I was like, I got 25 minutes to get it done. I just need one opportunity, one shot to find that right shot and put him away. And I felt the first time I fought him, I was rushing to get to him, and that's when I got knocked out. So, I mean, I'm super excited for that fight. It's gonna be a banger.
We'll cover that more in depth, have our official predictions as we get closer. But another fighter I've never heard you really talk about him before, and I know we'll also do breakdowns on him. KHAMZAT Chimaev, because I'm gonna say probably my hottest take as an MMA fan. I think there's no proof of it yet, but I think he is the best pound for pound fighter. Like, I think he's that good.
Damn.
And I also don't want to include John.
The man hasn't even won gold yet, boys, and he thinks he's the pound for pound best.
Where I want to take, first of all, I do want to say John Jones, I'm only not counting because I'm assuming that I have a feeling that maybe after Stipe we might not see too much. Yeah, so because of course I want to put that straight. If John Jones fights, if that guy fights until he's 45, I'll have him as pound for pound. Like, so that's kind of where I'm coming from. And then Volkanovski's obviously just absolutely amazing. But I think KHAMZAT, there's been very weird stuff going on of like why he hasn't fought more consistently.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, it's just so. Like, his last fight he's had way harder sparring sessions. I mean, he just goes in, takes down, and which actually we're gonna have a breakdown of that Kevin Holland fight. I just think what I've seen from him, and he, of course, Gilbert Burns, we did see him get a little bit exposed on the feet, but I still earned respect for him, seeing like, hey, he made it out of a war, like seeing him take that challenge. So. It's a hot take, but what do you think of me having that high praise for him?
No, I can understand. Typically you don't see young contenders come through the ranks and actually take a war like that. Like, you just don't see it nowadays, right? I mean, I think we saw it once with Sugar Sean O'Malley when he fought Peter Yan, but other than that, like, I literally can't sit back and think about like when did a young contender go through like an actual like tough war against a very like number 5 or number 4 top contender. It's very. You just don't see it nowadays. So I think when he fought Gilbert Burns, we saw him get tested. He also goes out there and beats guys very easily by, you don't have very good grappling, I'm going to smash you. So he takes him down, passes guard, and submits him. And I think he's just such a big fan favorite, but he's displayed that he's well-rounded, right? Like, he hasn't really been on his back, though. I don't remember him being on his back, so it would be interesting to see what happens if he gets on his back. But the person he's fighting in Paulo Costa is going to be a banger. Like, they're going to be standing up banging the whole time. Or KHAMZAT is going to use his intelligence and go down there and just take him down and pass his guard and then submit him. That's what I could see happening. But, I understand. I mean, that's your opinion. And I think if he
and to establish there's no proof of it. It's not like I'm sitting here saying like this dude's pound for pound. I'm just saying I think that's his potential. But
we 100%.
I don't know any reason why it's been so long. If it's that people don't want to fight him, so that it's been hard, or he's just not been interested in certain fights. And and I will say that too. It's embarrassing what happened with the whole weight cut situation and having to go up, being 9 pounds over, and having an entire card changed because you couldn't make weight. So I will say that we haven't seen him at 185 yet, but we were just talking at length about how like that might help him actually to be at 185. Like,
yeah, and just give people context. We'll go back to that, but. Me and Michael went to the gym today. We're talking about, you said that you feel that the organizations put a lot of stress on the athletes to make the weight, right? Like make a weight class or go to a certain weight class, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Like you're just kind of the competition is like, oh, I need to be the biggest in my weight class. So you see a KHAMZAT being like, oh, I need to be 170 when I've seen that dude in person. We interviewed him for the Triple C Schmo show. Like, he's not 170 at all.
No, and I was telling Michael that, I disagree in the take he put on it, saying that the organization kind of forces the athletes to go to certain divisions. And I was like, no, man, I disagree, because I think athlete only so when you said when you see some athletes miss weight, you're like, oh, it's not their fault. You blame kind of like the organization, right?
No, I don't want to say the organization. No, I want to say the culture is way more. It's like, it's even goes to the amateur wrestling ranks. Like, it's more of just the culture of this like systemic pressure of, okay, I need to be cutting weight. Like they almost feel weird if it's like, wait, why am I doing something wrong if I'm not cutting weight? I think that's so. I don't know if that's a UFC thing or just any competition level. I'm sure even I'm not really privy to any Muay Thai or kickboxing if they cut a lot of weight.
Don't do Muay Thai. Super League miss weight by 5 pounds, so you can't.
Yeah, so no, that is true. So I think it's just a competition thing more than anything, but it's certainly not good for the fighters, and I think it's definitely a positive that UFC and hey, as you're saying I'm blaming UFC, I'm also going to give them credit for being like, dude, you are not a 170.
Yeah,
like, we are not going to book you 170. Like find a middleweight, and that's so. I think that's I think it's a better fit for Khamzat, and if anything, makes me more confident that I think he's one day we're going to just see this guy as like in that Khabib kind of dominance, someone who has not lost. He has Khabib certainly didn't have a war like he did against Gilbert Burns though.
No,
so
God, no.
But still, I just have high hopes for him, and I think Paulo's the perfect opponent not only for this build, but just being someone who's Paulo's fought literally everyone in that division. So
and
we're really getting a test and a big 185 too. So.
Yeah, and Paulo Costa's also fought Luke Rockhold, Yoel Romero, Israel Adesanya. How do you say his name? The Italian, or is he Italian?
Marvin Vittoria.
Marvin Vittoria. So he's fighting everybody. So he's definitely going to bring it, right? This is probably going to be the most experienced fighter, I feel like, that Khamzat has fought. And I feel if any of these two fuckers show up overweight, I'm going to blow my shit. Because like I told Michael today,
this is a good prediction. We did the Logan Paul. Let's do a prediction a couple weeks out. Do you think that Khamzat Chimaev and Paulo both make 185 with no issues?
They better, because like I said at the gym today, there is no excuse, ladies and gentlemen. Tell you, there is no excuse, and all the fighters out there, I'm gonna tell you right now, there is no excuse for you guys to miss weight. No excuse whatsoever, and this is why you guys have no excuse. Now, I'm an athlete. I've been fighting mixed martial arts professionally since 2010, and it's 2023, so I've been fighting professionally for 13 years. I have never missed weight. You know why? Because when I get my contract, it's about eight weeks out, and it says, Demetrious Johnson, we want you to fight X, Y, and Z on this date at this weight. Now, the first thing that comes to mind is that I checked my weight. I'm like, okay, I'm 155. I never got that big for my life. But I checked my weight, and I plan ahead of time to make sure I hit that weight on that date. And that's all a fighter has to do is show up and fight and make weight. So I remember when I talked to Kevin Gastelum, I was at the club. It was in Vegas about some years. And I saw his little big ass running around. I said, Kevin, let me talk to you for a second. He goes, well, what's happening to me? I said, Kevin, there's no reason why you should be missing weight. I was like, you're a wrestler. There's no excuse. So, Khamzat and Paulo, they better make weight.
No, I really hope so too, because the worst part about missing weight over anything else is it really makes whoever the winner is not deserving of a title shot. Whereas if both these guys make weight, we already saw what happened in the middleweight division with Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya. Like everything is wide open. Yeah. So like they are just asking for someone to step up.
The storyline just opens up everything.
Don't it up if you miss. If you miss, like, that is the only fuck. Whoever wins this fight, even if it was a boring fight with the star levels and the way that these guys and shout out to Captain Eric, who I know he's in Abu Dhabi right now, and I was in Brazil with him and Paulo Costa, and like they are just you know Captain Eric, he's working on his wrestling. Like they are working their asses off on wrestling. They know what's gonna. There's no secret to Khamzat. That dude is sprints at you. He closes that distance and just wrestles. So like, what is he gonna? You sometimes see these wrestlers who like, it all of a sudden becomes a stand-up fight. No, that is not happening. He's gonna sprint at him, try to take him down.
But the biggest thing is that Paulo can't do is he can't just focus on defending the takedown, because it'll be 3 rounds of him just defending the takedown. That's all it would be. And I tell people, when you fight guys who want to take you down, this is when you give them opportunity. Use your distance, use your jab, use your knees, and use your kicks to keep him away. Oh, he might catch my kick. perfect. Just make sure when you throw the kick and he catches it, you come down in the Muay Thai stance. And that's one of the things I did with Adrian Ramirez. I never forget. Him and Sudo was like, DJ, don't kick him. I was like, why the fuck not? If he catches it, we'll go on my back and I'll fight him off my back. And then I got to the point when I showed the kick, he would think about it. Then I show the kick feint and then knock him out the right hand. So for me, if I was with Captain, I'm like, don't worry about defending a takedown. Like, defend a takedown, but also let your hands go, let your kicks go. Be Paula, be the eraser. Erase this motherfucker from the card. Don't just defend a takedown. So I'm excited.
No, and that's one thing too. Is we've talked a little bit about who are we pulling for, and even with what the praise I have for Khamzat, 100% pulling for Paulo. You know,
he's trying to protect him. Somebody goes back there.
Yeah. I don't want Captain, if you are watching this. No, but really, genuinely, Paulo's only a good dude from any time I've met him. I hope he wins. I think it'd be cool if he would get, first of all, him versus Sean Strickland.
Oh my God.
That would be him versus Sean Strickland would be the greatest build to a UFC title fight ever. We're talking about Dillon Danis on Twitter, that Twitter game with the secret juice.
And this guy got his secret juice, man.
Yeah.
Secret juice probably got pissed in there, man. That's what it is. I'll show it secret juices, put my dick in there, and fill it up with yellow shit. Yeah. That's what he said.
No, so I do hope that we get that, we see that, but no, I mean that's part of the intrigue. So no, I think we had a little bit of a weak stretch in combat sports after the Israel Adesanya Sean Strickland pay-per-view. Took some time off, not kind of a little bit of weaker fight night cards. Other than that, I will say the Mexican Independence Day was phenomenal.
Yep.
But we've had a little bit of a slow week, but now we're going to get the Dillon Danis, Logan Paul, KSI, Tommy Fury. Week after that, we get UFC 294. Week after that, we get Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou.
That's right.
So this is a fire stretch. Exciting time to be a fan. Exciting time to listen to the MIGHTYcast, watch the MIGHTYcast. So no, we're gonna be covering all of it in depth. We have no issue covering these, even if there's not too much technique going on. Like, we know that you guys enjoy these fights, Dillon Danis, Logan Paul, so that it makes it fun for us to cover it too. So no, I mean I'm looking forward to the fight, and no, as you said, we're gonna have Demetrious' reaction, which should be interesting.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury. That's gonna be a sick ass fight. Because after breaking down Francis Ngannou's boxing, I don't know how I feel if he's gonna get the job done. A lot of people out there think he has a weak ass jab. We read that all in the comments, and I don't know. I don't know how he's gonna do with the size, the boxing skill of Tyson Fury, the movement, the peak male body physique of Tyson Fury. I just don't know, but I'm super excited to break that down and watch it happen.
No, and I find that funny too, that, and it's not to discredit our own videos, because I enjoy this, that we are breaking down these very specific things. But I think if any fighter knows how these things work, if you have an open workout, you better not be showing your best stuff. I mean, if you're just doing it just to have a camera there and talk to the media, promote the fight. So no, I think we're gonna see Ngannou look a lot better than he showed in that workout.
I'm gonna have to disagree with Michael, boys. What you do is you get yourself ready, you crack yourself open one of these bad boy GFuel drinks. Make sure you go to gfuel.com and get yourself some. When you check out, make sure you use promo code MIGHTY. You crack one of these things up, get lit, go out there, show them your best move. That way, when they look at the table, like, holy shit, dude, like, Francis Ngannou's gonna bring it. That's what you do, Michael. You ever look at any of my open workouts? You see me just going blah, 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 nah, blah, 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 blah. I'm moving forward. That's what you need.
I'm also one of those fans, like, all these people, they love gambling and all this shit, and they'll look at, like, man, did you see this guy in the open workout, and like they'll watch it, or like, I even think it's the same. I've seen enough fighters look like death at weigh-ins where that doesn't mean shit either. Like, how many times Max Holloway's have been like, this dude is looks like he's like a step away, a pound away from dying, and then he goes and just whoops someone's ass for 25 minutes. Like I'm done judging any prediction of a fight on an open workout or how they look in weigh-ins. Like, I'm sorry, I'll look at their body of work and the opponent's strengths and weaknesses. I think that's a better.
I love that. I'm gonna start calling Max Hoy Hawaiian Skeletor. But yeah, man, he looked like death, like 1 pound from death. Like that's what you said verbatim.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I just and I don't think that should be any, and maybe I'm wrong, but I personally, it doesn't make, and I don't really think Ngannou and this is something we'll talk about more in depth. I don't think he stands much of a chance anyway, but all I'm saying is I would not base it off of this.
That jab?
I just love the tweet of like, oh man, this is like the worst jab I've ever seen. It's like, dude, he knocked people the out in MMA. I think he knows how to throw a punch. Like these Twitter experts, like he doesn't know how to throw punches. Like it's something we'll discuss more in depth as we get closer, but no, and we saw, you could just tell by Fury signing that USYK fight all he thinks about the chances that Ngannou has.
So we're gonna end on this. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Let's talk about that. Like, ladies and gentlemen, you don't understand that is unheard of in my lifetime of being a combat athlete. That's like me signing a contract to fight somebody, and then they're fighting 2 months after that, right? I think it's 2 months after
2 months.
He's fighting USYK. So just put it into context. Tyson Fury is so damn confident that he's going to walk through Francis Ngannou, one of the heaviest hitters in the world in combat sports. He goes off and signs another contract to fight one of the best boxers, USYK. 2 months later, and I believe this one's in Saudi Arabia, or is it in Abu Dhabi?
Saudi Arabia. That's just unheard of. That's how confident he is that he's going to beat Francis Ngannou, right? And when I wonder now that you just brought that up, I wonder if maybe some of it played a factor in that he's going to stay there, because I'm pretty sure both fights are in Saudi Arabia. So
yeah, so he's probably going to stay there too. Why not?
Yeah, so maybe he's like, I'm in fight shape. I'm in.
I bet you if he does this, if he's successful at Francis and he's successful at USYK, I would not be surprised if he retires, because yes, I would love to see him fight Anthony Joshua, but I just don't know if he cares to, right? Because we saw what USYK did to Anthony Joshua. USYK destroyed Anthony Joshua. His movement was way too much. Like, Anthony Joshua goes, what the hell? Like, I never fought any, like, I remember Anthony Joshua said, I've never fought somebody who moved like you. Like, you moved like a lightweight. And that's one of the things I told Francis that I would love to see Francis focus on is his movement, because we already know he hits hard, right? Francis has proved to us that he can knock people out with those hands. But I think he's approaching the fight against Tyson Fury wrong, because Tyson Fury has already fought the hardest puncher with Deontay Wilder, right? And he got knocked down, and then your boy Tyson Fury rose up like the motherfucking Undertaker from WWE and got back up and finished the fight. But the fact that he signed a contract to fight USYK 2 months later is absolutely mind-blowing. That's like, you'll never see that you would never see that in mixed martial arts. You might see a guy fight and then do a quick turnaround that he took no damage, but you'll never see like Sean Strickland, hey, I'm going to fight Izzy on UFC 300, and then I'm going to go ahead and sign the contract to fight, Paulo Costa at UFC 301. Like, you would never see that in MMA. Like, I don't think it's because MMA's... you're going to hear me have a lot of MMA versus boxing debates, but it's because MMA is actually unpredictable and anyone can win, whereas boxing 99% of the time it's all the odds are in the favor of one guy winning, and that's let's be honest, that's the real reason. So we all know that there's half of these boxing fights are just to showcase one guy winning. They'll get their freaking tens of millions of dollars for a fight that's boring and sucks. Like, it's a problem in the sport, and I definitely do not. I'm not crazy. That's why I wanted to see Ngannou Wilder. If I'm being honest, like I'm not crazy about this at all. For Ngannou to be like, oh, I'm gonna try boxing, and then you go against Tyson Fury. Like, are you kidding me? How does that make any sense? That'd be like, imagine if a boxer ever had the balls to do MMA, which they won't. But if a big boxer ever came into MMA and then they just go against the
champion. That doesn't make.
God.
They're gonna lose to you. Take up any of these boxers and they go against the lowest ranked fighter in the division. They'll get their asses kicked in MMA, and you're gonna just go against. So that's the issue right there. I would have rather seen Ngannou Wilder. Shit, that. Then I would have actually been a little bit more unpredictable. Of like, I don't know. I think I've seen enough flaws in Wilder's game, but Fury's, you're just. He's almost telling, like, it has to affect the pay-per-view by to an extent. It's like, shit, I'm gonna like save my money. I'm gonna save my money for my $80 for a couple weeks later to see an actual. A couple months later to watch an actual boxing fight.
What if Tyson Fury loses? Like,
Ariel Helwani said that too, and like he got so much shit because people are like, "Oh, he's not gonna lose." Like, there's still a fight. Like, and Ngannou's fucking powerful as shit.
Exactly.
Like, so you don't know what's gonna happen.
If he loses, does he still fight USYK? Like, does that make that fight even desirable to watch?
How great would it be if like Ngannou just flatlines Fury, and then they're just like, "Well, we're gonna do Ngannou versus USYK," and he just loses out on that USYK payday. Like, which I don't even know. Is Ngannou Fury for a title? Like, I don't even know.
It's not for a title.
It's not.
I think it's just for a super fight.
That's right. It's so hard to these. Like, you want to support these just gimmick fights, but then when it doesn't it make it so much harder to legitimize this shit when we're trying to take it seriously. And Ngannou versus Fury, it's like, okay, we'll try to take it seriously, and then they just book USYK versus Fury. It's like, then I'm not gonna. Okay, then is this just pro wrestling? Like, okay, fine, then.
See, you're starting to see this man's personality right here.
No, because when I can actually say shit is when it's not anyone that I work with professionally. So there's no boxers that I work with, or there's no one that I'm offending. Like, no, it is. Yeah. It's a joke, if we're being honest. It would never happen. It would never happen in any MMA organization that's worth anything. I don't like it, and no, as an Ngannou fan, it just did him dirty. But but no, he's gonna be happy with the payday. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I hope just for the shits and giggles to see you get mad. I hope Francis wins. He's like.
Now, there's another example I want to say too here. Francis Ngannou versus Fury. Ngannou would kick your ass in an actual fight. Yeah. So you could be so cool being like, oh man, I'm fighting, Francis Ngannou, I'm gonna kick his ass. You will, but if we lock them in a room, come back 5 minutes later and go see what it looks like.
Be careful, man. Them gypsies, they you up, man. They got some sneaky shit. You never know. They teach you the gypsy choke, all right?
No,
you never know.
No, I'm pro Francis Ngannou. I hope he hops the out of Tyson Fury, and we could just actually just make a mockery of what this insulting USYK fight is.
I just if Francis does win, I hope that he gets the opportunity to fight USYK instead of Tyson Fury. But that's a very ballsy move for Tyson Fury to sign a contract 2 months later to fight USYK. So, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much. Shout out to our sponsor, GFuel. Get you some, gfuel.com, promo code MIGHTY. Man, this was a fun ass episode.
No, yeah, we don't get to do it in person often. No. I live in Phoenix. Demetrious in Seattle, but no, hopefully we get to do more of these. We'll always try to do it. Maybe when we're on the road together. Yeah. We already got some stuff planned. We'll be at F1 and whatnot. Yes. In Vegas. So
we should do it there. We should do another.
Exactly.
There.
So no, we'll make sure to do it in person. But no, as always, you can listen to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts, and of course, always going to have it on YouTube as well. Give us your thoughts, any feedback you might have. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, and we'll also continue to try to get guests too, because I've already gotten some good feedback with Ariel. We should make that a monthly thing, maybe bi-monthly, something like that. Because
I want to get Michael Bisping. That's the one I want to get on next. I want to talk to him about his MMA career, his acting career, his analyst career. I think there's a lot of things there, and I've also fought on multiple cards with him. So I think it'd be good for you guys to hear, Michael Bisping's story.
Yeah, so. No, we do that. Yeah, and I think we'll also do maybe Uncle Chael too.
Oh my God,
but Uncle Chael, we might have to make it like a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah, let me tell you what happened in West Oregon, the true gangster. It would be a good one. But boys, ladies, gentlemen, we are your hosts. Demetrious Johnson, my man Michael Wonsover, and we will see you guys at the next MIGHTYcast. Amazing episode, boys. We out.